You have multiple times advocated on behalf of accepting homosexuality, accepting homosexual acts as normative in the conservative movement. How does anal sex help us win the culture war?
Howdy yo folks, how are you doing? I am supremely white-pilled and I cannot wait to share this video with you. But you might be thinking, what was that intro about? Where was this Q&A taking place? Who is Charlie Kirk? What is Turning Point USA? Who's Nick Fuentes? Why does this American politics stuff matter to me, an Englishman? But this is highly relevant to us. We need to learn from what's happening here, lads. And also this video should serve as a massive white pill because American and British politics very often reflect one another. The same ideas become popular at the same time. Cultural change and monumental political events coincide. And what's going on in America, specifically within the right-wing conservative movement, needs to happen in the UK. It can happen in the UK, and I believe it will happen in the UK. So, time for 43.8 seconds of background. Charlie Kirk is a hugely influential figure in the young conservative movement in the United States. He hangs out with Donald Trump Jr., he's on Fox News pretty regularly, and he's the founder and leader of this organization called Turning Point USA, which even has a branch in the UK. And this organization trains young people in political activism, it puts on political stunts and runs campaigns, and they say they're America first, big-time Trump supporters, nationalists basically. They also go on tour, they go around college campuses, and after they finish speaking, there's an opportunity to ask questions at an open mic Q&A. Now recently, yesterday as of recording this, at one of these Q&As, Charlie Kirk, founder of Turning Point USA, was completely owned, exposed, wrecked, destroyed, shown up for who he actually is. Groiper after groiper, lining up, asking him all these tricky questions. Because Kirk is a total sellout. He's a grifter, a shill for corporate interests, and a shill for Israel. And as I said, Kirk claims to be an American first patriot. But he wants 500,000 immigrants per year. That's the immigration policy he supports. 500,000. That's mass migration. He also supports the exact same policy that's supported by Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, and Nancy Pelosi. When foreigners graduate from US universities, Kirk says they should have a green card stapled to the back of their diploma so they can live in America forever. Kirk also just loves Israel, been there several times, probably on their payroll, denies the USS Liberty was attacked deliberately, says that's an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. He supports taking money from US taxpayers to give Israel aid. Even though he claims to be for limited government and low taxes, he also denies that any of the endless foreign wars in the Middle East have anything to do with Israel or to do with all those Zionist neocons in the White House. No, nothing to do with them. I mean, he's very dishonest. Perhaps even worse, Kirk will call anyone who talks about demographics a racist. He says ideology and race have nothing to do with one another and that demographic change is nothing to worry about. Whites becoming a minority, that's fine. We just need to reach out to these socialist-loving Hispanics and turn them into freedom-loving, gun-toting Americans. And a final quick bit of background on this guy. Kirk is totally pro-LGBT and pro-transgenderism. To be fair, he doesn't support it for the kids, but he says butt sex is totally cool. Now, real conservatives have been calling this out for what it is. This lame as fuck, non-conservative shill gayness. And one man in particular has been very influential in exposing the hypocrisy and treacherous nature of Kirk's ideology.
We say it's not personal when you're going up to ask a question, but with somebody like Charlie Kirk, I mean, you have to understand that somebody like this is the scum of the earth. This guy's the biggest scum-sucking, anti-American loser, traitor. And that's what you have to remember. Charlie Kirk says things like, America is just a placeholder for timeless values. You know, somebody asked him about what is the American nation? And Charlie Kirk said, well, you know, I love America. I love the Grand Canyon. I love Boston. I love Chicago. He said, but if we were all on a deserted island and we had the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, that would be America. Because America is just a placeholder for ideas. Now, that part alone is, I mean, do you understand the gravity of something like this? Do you understand the message that he's saying? He's saying that your land, your ancestors, your family, the sacrifices. You know, I had family members that fought and died in the military in World War II, in Vietnam, whatever. They were just placeholders. They were just vessels for timeless values. You know, this city, Chicago, where my ancestors go back 4 generations, you know, that's just a placeholder. None of that matters. Little Italy, Taylor Street, all that, that's all just completely trivial, worthless. And for people that have been here longer than I have, I know people that have been here since the Mayflower. I know people that have been here since Plymouth Rock and Virginia Dare, the first American. Well, the land that we settled, the mountains, the valleys, the plains, all of that, it's worthless. It's meaningless. What matters is liberalism. What matters is ideas like tolerance for homosexuals. What matters is tolerance for Jews. What matters is that we're open-minded about tax policy, that we have low corporate tax rates. And the icing on the cake is not even just that. You know, that to me is offensive enough and says all you need to know about Charlie Kirk, but it's also the context where he said that. He made that statement at some kind of Zionist lobby gala, some kind of Zionist lobby presentation. The whole backdrop is Hebrew writing, and it's a poster of Theodore Herzl. And Charlie Kirk says in the same statement that America is a placeholder, America is worthless in itself, it is merely to serve the ends of the ideas. He says, and Israel is a civic nationalist country. In other words, Israel is the embodiment of values. He says, but Israel is also the exception at the same time. He says, both in America and Israel as nations are defined by their values. And America is worthless. It's just a placeholder. He says, however, but Israel is the exception. They are the same as America in that they're a values-based country, but Israel also really matters. The land, the people. He said it's an exception for Israel because, you know, the Jews have a connection to the Holy Land. So America can go to hell. Fuck America. The Grand Canyon, Chicago, all that is worthless and doesn't matter. And what matters in America is the Constitution. And that's sort of like Israel. What matters in Israel is the Talmud and the Quran, or not the Quran, the Torah, and, you know, some other texts, you know, you might look at the Kabbalah and things like this, right? What matters is the ideas, but also the Jewish people and their land. In other words, the blood and soil of Israel, that's legitimate just for them. They're the one exception. You know, that's the kind of person we're dealing with here. We should not be bashful about calling that out. There's nothing extreme about calling that out. There's nothing fringe. That doesn't make you alt-right. That doesn't make you a white nationalist, anti-Semite, fake conservative. I think you're the fake conservative. You're the fake patriot, the fake nationalist. If you're going to go up there and try and tell everybody that we should accept the demographic displacement of our ancestors, so long as it's legal, and anyway, the land, the people is all interchangeable, is all replaceable, is all worthless, and what matters is the document. What matters is the Constitution. He should be shamed for that. He should be ran out of every legitimate institution, hall of power that calls themselves conservative for saying something like that. That's not conservative. That's not right-wing. That's not American. It's not patriotic. That is slave morality. He is a slave for Israel. He gets on his knees for another country. Never forget that.
So that man is Nicholas J. Fuentes, the host of the YouTube live stream show America First. And he's been encouraging people to go up to Charlie Kirk and ask questions. Let's watch a quick mashup of some of the best questions Charlie's received on his college campus tour, Culture War.
If the president were to enact a policy that would completely benefit the United States and her citizens, but to the detriment of Israel.
Yeah!
That's a false choice. Thank you for being here. I get a lot of questions about Israel in the last week.
Yeah.
I will not apologize for my defense of our greatest ally in the Middle East.
Yeah.
I will not apologize.
We know
for
you won't,
the fact
bitch.
That the amount of attention that is on the only democracy in the Middle East, the only place where all three monotheistic religions are allowed to peacefully visit their religious sites, the place that has respect for human rights.
Not to mention the only pro-gay place in the Middle East.
There it is.
Let's talk about that.
Guy, this is our guy.
I will.
Shh, be
Somebody
quiet.
outside a protester was asking about the term culture war. It's got a long history, started late 1800s, Otto von Bismarck, Kulturkampf. In the late 1990s,
Rose, we got a cross.
1990s, it was reclaimed by conservatives. One of those being E. Michael Jones, who actually started this magazine.
Nice.
Because of his fantastic work. We now understand. Thank you. Give it up.
Yes.
Because
I have no
of
idea.
E. Michael Jones' groundbreaking work, we now understand that sexual liberation is political control. It's a form of political control. And you have multiple times advocated on behalf of accepting homosexuality, accepting homosexual acts as normative in the conservative movement. How does anal sex help us win the culture war?
Yes!
I'm going to let the gay man answer that.
Wait a minute. We realize that gays and lesbians are able to contribute to American society in the same way that everybody else is.
Oh, they're getting booed! They're getting booed!
Doing that.
How does homosexual sex help us win the culture war?
Who said homosexual sex helps you win the culture war?
That's the question that I'm asking. Why are you promoting it?
Well, it's a BS question.
I don't care what two consenting adults do. So
I'm not here to tell anybody what to think or what to believe, but for me, somebody like that doesn't really have any place in the conservative movement because it's something that is so behind the times.
Yeah, eat shit.
You can do whatever you want to, baby, because I'm going to be me, and I'm still there.
Yeah. You should be shamed.
next question.
Great question. We got 2 already. Oh, here we go. This guy's a
Wait a minute.
Yo, look at this guy. Look at the patch. Look at the patch. This is amazing.
My question is largely directed to Mr. Kirk because you were raised as a conservative. Part of the issue I see here is, what's your name, Rob?
Yeah.
So you're saying, you're behind the times, this isn't conservative. Well, we don't want centrists in the conservative movement. We want to retain our values.
Yes!
We don't want But here's the thing. It's not about what you want, because here's the thing. The beauty about social media is that I can be me and I can bring myself to the table. And it's not about what you want, it's about
This
what
is
the
so
people want.
epic. Do you know how incredible this is? 3, one after the other.
You know, as the guy before has said, you know, you've advocated for homosexuality, said that there's a place for the gay agenda within the conservative movement. My question is, and you're also comfortable with transgenders and cross-dressers, I understand. So my question is there any point where conservatives should take a moral stance on Christian morality, or should we abandon it altogether? So in other words, what is TPUSA's, is your brand of conservatism doing to actually conserve Christian morality?
If
it's ceding to the left on transgender, gay rights, gay marriage, we don't want that in conservative.
This guy's the best so far.
Movement? I just want to be very clear.
Get him the fuck out.
So you don't want me in the movement?
No. Hold on a sec. I want to be very clear. Hold on a sec.
Oh man,
you're
so good, dude.
Language,
power levels are rising.
And I believe
rise, gamers, rise.
Why would you be trying to turn me away from God?
Repent, sodomite.
All right, so according to the U.S. Census Bureau population projections, in 2045, whites will account for less than 50% of the population of the United States. Given that the Democratic Party's policies do not point towards the maintaining of our American ideals, and given the most groups other than whites overwhelmingly vote Democrat, how can we be sure that said ideals will be maintained when millions of immigrants come in with majority Democratic support? Can you prove that our white European ideals will be maintained if the country's majority is no longer made up of white European descendants?
Oh, shit, I broke my head. That was so epic, dude. Based and Chad. He's Chad. It's great optics.
I'm always interested by this argument. Like, how are we going to maintain our white status? So let's play out that racist idea. It is a failure of the conservative movement to not be able to communicate to communities in the black community, which I believe the black community is an inherently conservative community, a community that is around the ideas of the Judeo-Christian tradition. And so to reject your premise that, how are we going to keep the white status of this, I find that to be a racist question.
What a racist question that was. So I got a quick and fun, lighthearted question for you, Charlie. So I know you gave a speech in Jerusalem earlier this year.
Yes, I did.
Were there any awesome, fun dance parties that you guys had afterwards? Because I heard that Israelis are some of the best dancers in the world. I mean, if you guys don't believe me, just Google dancing Israelis.
Yo!
Would you agree or disagree with that?
That's amazing.
A beautiful country, a great country too.
It is. They're our greatest ally.
Correct. Thanks for being here tonight. Next question.
Dancing Israelis.
Thank you for being here tonight.
Oh my God.
So I followed you for a while. I've listened to a lot of
Chad,
talks.
look at this Chad.
And my question is this.
King.
Given that your interpretation of traditional conservative values stems from 1965 on immigration and 2015 on race, I'd like to know, how long do we have to wait until child drag shows are pushed as American traditional conservatism?
Yes! King! Kings and Chad!
So, in the wake of the student debt crisis, stagnant wage growth across all education levels in all fields, liberal arts, STEM, how is regurgitating this far-left talking point of stapling green cards to diplomas America first? How is this any different than chain migration funded by taxpayers through the NSF DOD?
Yo!
And so I will say this.
This is what's happening right now. This is what we're seeing live on the air.
I did not say citizenship.
We made this a reality. The meme became real.
MIT.
Hi, Charlie.
Groiper. He's a groiper.
So I saw and enjoyed your debate at Politicon with Kyle Clancy over the weekend.
Name.
And you said during the debate that the free speech police are telling people that they can no longer do certain things. Yet, as you were saying that, you had actual police prevent someone from merely watching the debate. Nick Fuentes.
Yes!
And there was no evidence that he was going to be disruptive.
That's
or
me.
break the rules. But
so my name is Patrick Casey. I'm an American nationalist and America First patriot.
Yes!
Thanks, guys.
Romans in chat. We need Romans in chat for the leader.
Despite my ardent support for the president and his policies, I was actually kicked out of CPAC earlier this year.
But I didn't kick you out of this event.
No, I'm not going to blame you.
Just making sure.
Yeah, you're very defensive here. I get that.
Yes!
My good friend Nicholas Fuentes, whom I believe you were just discussing up there. But look, I'm not going to blame you for that.
I just want to make sure.
I've got a question here.
Is that the troll that keeps tweeting about me?
He's not a troll. He's a very intelligent guy who has a lot to say. He's somewhat of a troll, but
he seems to be getting a lot of you guys to say stuff for him tonight, so.
I don't debate trolls.
I think we've been debating them all night.
Yes,
right,
yes.
Citing CPAC's decision to remove American nationalists from their conference. I'm not blaming you for that. I'm moving it into something.
I don't run CPAC either.
Right, and I just said that I'm not blaming you. I've said that 3 times. So, but you do run TPUSA, and TPUSA did remove its relationship with Ashley St. Clair, who all she really did was take a picture with Nick Fuentes. She was in the same room. So, my question to you, Charlie, is as someone who, purports to be pro-debate, free speech, and, the exchange of ideas, do you support blackballing people based on having controversial opinions or being even in the same room when a photograph is taken with someone who has controversial opinions? And the second part of that question is, if the answer is no, will you debate me on immigration, identity, and demographics?
Well, so, first of all, I mean this respectfully.
Patrick, that was so good.
Other thing, that was a private matter. Ashley's a good person. We handled it privately. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah.
Finally, I just want to make a broader statement. I want to make a broader statement. My stance on Israel, I'm not going to back away on it. My stance on immigration is a mainstream position. And I think it's really incredible because the amount of people that have been here tonight that have shown hatred towards Rob, that have been shown towards his ideas, is pretty incredible. And so I really don't know who you are, and the fact you're getting as upset as you are.
Hey, you guys, who likes Cardi B? Cardi B? You know she has that song,
Shout out
People Do Anything for Clout?
He gave the shout out to
that
the
Cardi B
Groivers.
song, People Do Anything
It's
for Clout.
so good,
People
folks.
do anything for clout.
Is this not the greatest thing
anything
ever?
for the clout, boy.
All right, this is our last question.
Shut it down, yeah.
So this is just glorious. This is amazing. This is just a bunch of normal lads. They're young, they're well-dressed, they're handsome, peak optics, asking reasonable, non-cucked questions that make these fakes on stage squirm. I advise you to go and watch the whole thing. They had no reasonable answers. They dodge, they look weak, they call people trolls, they call people racist. And this has really been picked up on. I mean, they were booed at their own event, but also conservative Twitter is on fire. Everyone is watching these clips. And this is just regular lads asking sensible questions, and the impact has been huge. This changes people's minds, and it's so fun. It's so fun watching these people getting wrecked. It is great. It is wonderful for morale. And think of the branding on this. Who wants to be on Kirk's side, telling young men in MAGA hats that it's racist to preserve America's European identity? Who wants to be hanging out with a guy whose ideology is Reagan-esque and toothless? His brand is taking a massive hit. This brand of conservatism that infects conservatism in England as well, believe you me. I think we all know that. This brand that has people, that worry about what other people think, that can't truly advocate for conservative traditional values, that has no hope in hell of actually solving any of the issues the West currently faces. This brand is beginning to look pretty gay. And to have all of these like-minded men come together, one after another, and to do this, they're a team, and this is a win. It's all over social media. The humiliation of Conservative Inc. is the talk of the town.
So there's basically a burgeoning ideological civil war, you could call it, within the right between Conservative Inc., the mainstream right, and the dissident right. And this has come to the fore over the past couple of weeks or so, with these young dissident right individuals showing up and crashing TPUSA events and airing their grievances, in one case with a guy called Nick Fuentes being kicked out of one of these events and not having his free speech respected, which they claim is a giant hypocrisy because, of course, Conservative Inc. is supposed to be all about free speech, especially on college campuses. What are their grievances? The fact that Conservative Inc. shows massive support for waves of legal immigration, despite the fact that the stats show 75% of those legal immigrants vote Democrat anyway. So by supporting massive waves of legal immigration, Conservative Inc. seems to be signing the death warrant for the Republican Party, and indeed for Donald Trump in a more short-term sense. These are the questions that are being asked at these TPUSA events. And I've met Charlie Kirk. He's a nice guy. This is not an attack on Charlie Kirk, but this needs to be addressed because people want me to talk about it. There are other grievances with Israel. Mainstream conservatives, Conservative Inc. also has a fetish with constantly genuflecting and prostrating themselves for Israel. Even when we literally had a few weeks ago the story that Israel had spy devices on the White House lawn eavesdropping on the Trump administration. And in fact, last night during this fracas, you could call it, Charlie Kirk was asked, would he support a policy that benefited America to the detriment of Israel? And his answer was basically, I love Israel. That's one of their grievances. This is why this is bubbling up, because it's not being addressed, why a lot of Conservative Inc. seems to place Israel before the United States of America in many aspects. Their other gripe is that Conservative Inc. increasingly appears to be shifting left and adopting positions that progressives stood for 10 years ago, especially with the whole degeneracy LGBT angle. Like, how many selfies with drag queens do you need at this point? So those are their gripes. That's why these confrontations are happening at all these Conservative Inc. conferences. That's why people like Nick Fuentes are becoming increasingly popular amongst young people. Energetic on camera, he's funny, he's got a growing audience of very young people. So whether or not freezing him out of the debate entirely is really going to work in favor of actually challenging what you would say are his bad ideas, I'm not sure at this point, because the optics appear to be starting to shift, whereby these fringe right Nickers, as they call them, these Nick Fuentes fans, are asking these questions about immigration, about Israel, about degeneracy, the culture war, and the answers that they're getting, if they get answers at all, are just not satisfactory. It's not great optics to just shout racist at some 20-year-old kid in a MAGA hat. You're using the left's tactics against your own people, basically. And again, even if you disagree with them, merely to call them saboteurs or trolls, which they very well may be, doesn't seem to be having the effect of extinguishing their ideas, because their numbers only seem to be growing. You have these young, conservative, you could call them more fringe right individuals showing up, asking these questions to the point where last night in Ohio, they dominated like 8 out of the 10 questions, and they're promising a Groyper war to go out to all these events with Steven Crowder, Ben Shapiro, Charlie Kirk and just bombard them with these same grievances.
So we need to be doing this, lads. We need to do this in England. Obviously, this is low risk, high reward political activism. You're not going to get doxxed for it. You're not going to get in that much trouble, especially if you frame your question, cleverly. And we all know who the cucks are, right? We know who to target. It's guys like that gay atheist neocon Douglas Murray, or I don't really care about transgender kids Jacob Rees-Mogg. It's the entire writing staff at The Spectator and every single MP in the Conservative Party. And then there's what's he called, Nick, I love mass migration Ferrari, and Julia Race Isn't Real Hartley Brewer, she's called, something like that. And this even includes people who aren't really right-wing but influence contemporary mainstream conservatism or act as gatekeepers, people like Sargon and Majid Nawaz. These people have book tours, they make speeches, they're involved in debates, they throw events, they host radio call-in shows, and we need to hit them up. We need to go there, hopefully meet some nice people beforehand, like on the Discord. All right, mate, let's meet up, have a beer, calm your nerves, practice the question, wear nice enough clothing, don't look like a freak, and then just be like, my question is directed at Douglas Murray. Why do you shut down conversation surrounding IQ differences between groups? And why do you ignore the bounds of scientific evidence surrounding population group differences when you discuss mass migration to Europe? Are you, Mr. Murray, are you actually more scared of being called a racist than speaking the truth and defending our country and our people? You got to use population group, by the way, instead of race. It sounds a little bit better. And I would definitely make sure you say our people, us, because they'll want to counter-signal that, and then they'll expose themselves as basically traitors and cowards. Or get yourself down to a Sargon event and be like, hey, Sargon, big fan, praise kek. You got to pretend to be one of them. And then you say, you said that you didn't care about whites becoming a minority in the UK because, quote, I'll be dead by then. For those of us who do care about the future of our country and civilization, could you explain why we should adopt your attitude and buy into the idea that the English becoming a minority in their own country sometime before 2100 is inconsequential? And how about Jacob Rees-Mogg? Jacob Rees-Mogg, man. Do you remember when you thought he was our boy? Do you remember that? Yeah, he'll be on another book tour soon enough. And we're going to ask him why he takes a libertarian stance on transgendered children. Isn't it child abuse? When will the Tories make it illegal to sterilize children? Or you could just pin him down on the Conservative Party's record on immigration. Hi, Jacob. Great to be here. Great talk. Thanks so much. I was just wondering, why should we take a single additional immigrant from sub-Saharan Africa when their past record in the UK proves them to be nothing more than net tax recipients, and their presence leads to massive increases in violent crime within our cities? Sorry, Jacob, I'm not finished. I'm not finished yet, Jake. Give me the mic back. Now, why should we take them in whilst we are currently experiencing a housing crisis and an NHS overcrowding crisis, and our people struggle to get on the housing ladder, are unable to afford to have children, and are failing to form family units at record rates? Oh, huge applause. Oh, bask in the glory. And there's a guy, he's just like, well, he did make a bloody good point. Yeah, so, the things we really need to talk about, joking aside, are group differences and the fact that groups exist and should be considered rather than ignored. We need to talk about demographic change, the fact that we're going to be a minority, and immigration. We need to make it clear that we're basically being invaded and our government are allowing that to happen. And I think we need to talk about the LGBT nonsense. We need to put forward real conservative values with confidence. These are the key points. And I think most conservatives in the mainstream, the fans of folks like Murray and Mogg and Sargon, a lot of them are just simply unaware of these things. They don't even know that kids are being taught about gender identity from the age of 5. They don't know that English kids are minorities in their own classrooms. They don't know that London's population is now majority non-English. And look, this is why we're doing it, because people are unaware. We're not doing it because we hate these people. We're not making them squirm out of spite. We're doing it because we want to promote our ideas and because we feel their ideas have failed. Liberalism and contemporary mainstream conservatism have failed us. These ideologies have allowed our country to be sold to the highest bidder. They've allowed our country to become multicultural. They've turned our cities into places that we flee from. And they've allowed for the normalization of degenerate and dysgenic behavior. Further, the remedies suggested by Sargon or Murray or Rees-Mogg, they aren't going to save us. Because these guys are still performing within the politically correct paradigm, within the left's moral framework. And that makes honesty impossible, which in turn makes the process of forming solutions unworkable and futile. So, who are we going to target? I need people's ideas. I need you in the comments. Strategists, unite. I would say let's just do it to Turning Point UK, but they're not really that big yet, are they? So what? Sargon, target him? I feel like we've gone after him quite a lot, but no one really rocks up on his tour. I feel like I was the only guy who debated him. Anyway, whoever it is, whichever tour we target, it's time to have fun again, lads. The general election is coming up. Your MP will be holding events with a Q&A. Ask some base questions, record it, post it. Send me the link to my email, which is down below in the description box. If it's good, I'll bang it in one of my videos. It really is time for a civil war. We just need our young lads. Yeah, where are our young, real conservatives? We need them. Where are the soldiers? It's time to take out these faux conservatives and expose their brand of moral cowardice right in front of their fans. So God bless. Hope you all have a wonderful day and a wonderful rest of your week. See ya.